call upon the public prosecutor to read the indictment.
There's a wig inside. It's not quite the Old Bailey, eh? Pity, I like all that.
Gradimir Tasic, as air traffic controller in charge of the upper sector of Zagreb airspace at 11:15 a.m. on September 10th last, you are accused of failing to ensure minimum separation between a British Airways Trident and an Inex Adria DC-9. Therefore, as the responsible person who supervises a means of transportation and who by ineptitude has caused great loss of life and property, you have violated Article 271, Paragraph 2 of the Penal Code. Giulio Dacic, you are accused of failing to ensure that the controllers did not leave their place of work until they were officially released, and of failing to give Tasic assistance when you could see that he was overloaded. Mladen Hochberger, you are accused of leaving your place of work without consideration to the possible overloading of Gradimir Tasic. Nenad Tepes, you are accused of arriving late for duty and of failing to familiarize yourself with traffic on the sector, although you could see that Tasic was overloaded. Bojan Erevec and Gradimir Pelin, you are accused of failing to remove any possible risk of conflict with regard to your wish to hand over control of the DC-9 to the upper sector controlled by Gradimir Tasic. Pelin, you are further accused of breaching air traffic regulations by not showing the flight information slip for the DC-9 to Tasic at the precise moment of coordination of its projected climb into Tasic's sector. The accused will be seated.
Yes. And then?
At about 2 minutes past 11, Hochberger got up and told me that he was going to look for Tepes, who was supposed to have taken over at 11. There should be 3 controllers at every sector, but Zagreb is 50% under strength. Anyway, after Hochberger left, I took over as controller. The radar was playing up that day, so I used it only as backup.
Tasic then stated that Erevec, the middle sector controller, called over to him and mentioned something about a climb. Tasic said he waved back to him to indicate that he was too busy to talk. What happened then?
Pelin came over and pointed to a shadow on my radar screen.
Did he say anything?
We asked if that plane could climb into my sector. I told him to keep it at its present height and to check again after it had passed Zagreb.
Did he give you any more information about it?
He had no flight information strip with him. I didn't consider this conversation to be a transfer. Pelin hadn't told me enough about it. Sometime between 13 and 14 minutes passed, he finally handed me the DC-9 strip. It can only have been 15 seconds later that the DC-9 called me and told me that he was climbing through my sector. Knowing that the Trident was immediately above it, I ordered the DC-9 to remain at its present height. 10 seconds later, the 2 shadows merged. I saw them part, then vanish from the screen.
Tasic states that Pelin did not initially bring with him the flight information slip for the DC-9.
In the moments before the collision, why did you use the Croatian language when the rules require English?
I am authorized to use Croatian when speaking to Yugoslav crews, Article 53.
If you felt that you were overburdened in any way, why didn't you report this to the supervisor?
But that would have lost more valuable time.
When Tepes did arrive, why didn't you turn over the controller's job to him as per the schedule?
I was too busy. I took over as controller because I thought it was my duty.
Isn't it true to say, Tasic, that you have a reputation for preferring to work alone?
There are times during a night shift when traffic is light. I've been on my own. There should be 3 men per sector like the rest of Europe.
Tasich states that in his opinion the main causes of the disaster were shortage of staff, problems with the radar, and the fact that the sectors are divided by height rather than by areas of traffic density. He also states that the rules for coordination were not specific. And finally he states that the direct cause of the accident was a mistake made by the middle sector controllers.
At about 11:05, Tepesh still hadn't replaced me, so I stood up and told Tasich I was going to look for him. Tasich didn't say anything.
Had you convinced yourself that Tasich was not overloaded with work?
Well, everything was normal. Tasich was in complete control of the situation. He didn't have to do the assistant's job too. There was nothing urgent to do.
Did you ask your supervisor's permission to leave?
Yes.
That's not true. No one came near me.
Comrade Judge, look. A controller would never leave a colleague if he could see that he was in trouble. Anyway, everyone knows that Tasich liked to work alone.
I was late because I've been having stomach troubles.
When did you meet Hopberger?
At about 7 minutes past, after I'd come out of the toilet.
And what did he say to you?
He told me everything was okay. I went over to Tasich. He was doing fine. He told me there wasn't much traffic about.
So you weren't unduly worried about what time you arrived on the sector?
Other people are often late. If that's the case, I wait until they arrive before going.
Have you been punished for being late before?
Yes. But take a look at the records, comrade. I've also had a lot of commendations for my work.
I was leaving the flight dash desk at 11. I passed Hochberger, who was talking to you. I heard you say to him, "Hockey, you're not thinking about what you're supposed to be doing at all, are you?" Hochberger answered, "Well, in that case, neither is Tepesh. He still hasn't turned up." I heard you say it.
You've just made that up. You didn't tell the inquiry that, did you? I was sitting at my desk the whole time. Nobody came near me. Nobody.
Tasich and Pellin tell conflicting stories about the handover of the flight information slip for the DC-9. Would you come forward? Repeat your story to Pellin.
You gave me nothing until it was too late. There was no transfer, no clearance for that plane to climb into my sector.
I warned you about the Trident. You're lying. You have that strip in your hand. It told you all you needed to know.
That's not true.
You could have refused the coordination. There would have been...
There was no coordination. You're lying.
You just forgot about the Trident.
No.
Why don't you admit it?
No, that is not true. You're lying.
You know, we call this place the phony witness, Mr. Weston. Well, they say that anyone who ever wants a witness can always find one here. But it's only a story, of course. What did you think of this morning's little scene, then? They're like a class of school kids. Nobody wants to take the blame.
Drasko, the whole setup takes a lot of getting used to. All right, the punishment should fit the crime. But the point is that in England, in a situation like this, the question of a crime wouldn't arise at all, unless you could prove they were blind drunk or plotting sabotage.
Well, those two train drivers got put away and they weren't saboteurs.
Which train drivers?
There was a crash here back in about 1974. 170 people killed. Same judge.
What did they get?
The same as this lot can expect. 20 years.
20 years. It's barbaric.
That makes 42 days and about 20 hours for each victim.
That's an appalling equation.
Listen, would you like me to introduce you to the public prosecutor? You know you're part of his team.
Later.
Okay. We've got the big white chief from the Federal Board of Aviation this morning. Experts. They'll make sure the blame sticks where it causes the least damage, you see.
Would it therefore be true to say, comrade, that there is a serious staff shortage problem in Zagreb?
Well, as you can see from our report, we certainly do have manning problems. We're especially short of very experienced controllers.
Do you personally feel that the present training given to controllers is adequate?
We do have a problem keeping up standards. A few years ago, the training school couldn't cope, but it's been expanded now. We tried to run refresher courses, but well, these have had to be scrapped for financial reasons.
You must be aware, comrade, that before the events of last September, several controllers have been removed from Zagreb Center for incompetence.
Yes, it's true. We do have a recurrent problem, training up controllers who don't reach the required standards. But having said that, in the annual report, Zagreb has always received very good marks for quality of work.
Comrade Judge, I'd like to ask a question. Why hasn't anything been done to sort out the radar? It's still on test after lying there for 2 years, and there are no rules worked out governing its use.